finally got my hands on the new Huda Beauty, potentially the last Huda Beauty. Big palette, Icy Nude, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. The color story is absolutely beautiful. She really does some very beautiful color stories. But how is the formula? So I'm going to go ahead and do some swatches for you, and I will make some commentary on the swatches, and then I will do some looks for you. I did this look today with this, and I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I have to say that overall, this is probably the first Huda Beauty palette that I personally have owned and liked. I wanted to get the rose quartz. I've heard from everybody that that is probably the best one. I haven't gotten around to it, and I'm glad that I have this one because I feel like this is a lot like rose quartz, but it is a more wearable, less cool toned. I know it's supposed to be very icy and cool. I think this is less cool toned than like the rose quartz. Because of that, I think it is a little more warm to neutral, and it is just way more wearable for every day. I absolutely love what I have done with it so far. I still have to play with it some more. I will show you the looks that I got, but so far I'm definitely liking this. So let's get into the swatches, and then we'll get into the looks, and then I do have a couple of alternatives. One of them is very cheap, but limited. It's not as big as this. And then one of them is just as big and maybe even better, especially if you're looking for something more cool toned, but it's not any cheaper than this. Let's get into the swatches. Okay, let's start with the packaging. This is so luxury, so beautiful. For $69, that's kind of what you would hope for. Before I even touch this, I always like to get it filmed. Look how beautiful these are. This one is made in Italy. Okay, so we're going to start out with just the mattes. First, I'm doing IDGAF. We all know what that means. And it is a very, very light baby pink. I'm doing about 3 swatches on each of these because I find that I need that to get the full color. Second one is Avalanche, which is a really good white. This one really is a nice creamy white that shows up really well, even on my very light eyes. Next, we are going to do High Life. And this is just one of those perfect light purples on me. This is, I mean, really my ideal purple. I love this. Okay, next, I love this color too. This is called Oneself. It is like a gray purple. It really reads pretty gray, but it's a slightly purpley one that like actually reads really well on me. Same with this. This is Poised. Love this purple. Any kind of grayed out purple I'm gonna love. I also love a little bit warmer purples like this one, Unapologetic. This is probably this is their warmest sort of burgundy purple. Next we have Lavish, also very pretty wearable sort of pink for me that doesn't make me look sick. Next, She Rich. This is a great, very, very dark purple. It's so dark it almost even reads as like a black on me at times. The next one is really close. It's called Faux Fur. It's just a little lighter of a purple, tiny bit more warm. I mean like the tiniest bit. Okay, now obviously these last two are very warm. This is First Class, which is just straight up sort of a peach on my fair neutral to cool tone skin, and then a lighter version of it which is Cold Plunge. And you know, these are usable as pops of color for me. They don't look bad on me, but I don't really think I'm gonna use these colors that much. Okay, I think these look great. Let's move on to the shimmers. I'm gonna start with this very shimmery blue kind of color. It is called Iced Out, and it's definitely one that you can build up and then get the shimmer that you want, but it doesn't, you could also just use it as a topper. I think it's really meant to be a topper. Next, we are doing Platinum. This is actually a really nice metallic shimmer. I think this is actually one of the better metallic shimmers I have in my collection. So this is Aurora. I love this color. I keep using this color wherever I can. This is one of my favorite sort of mauves. It's like a warm mauve that actually does look pretty good on me, warm to neutral. Very, very pretty, nice formula. Okay, now let's move into the worst formula I think I have ever tried. This is like gritty, sharp sand. I do not understand what is going on here, and I'm not comfortable putting this on my eyes. I have gotten glitter in my eye and needed to have it surgically removed before. This is like a prime candidate for that. Let's move on. Next is VVS, which is one of the flaky, smushy kind of glitters. These are very pretty. I use them as a topper. They're a little bit hard to use because you do have to sort of build them up or squish them on. This one is Diamond Dew, which is the more silvery version. You don't realize until they're right next to each other, but the first one, VVS, is definitely a little more like almost rose gold undertoned. So there we go. And then the final metallic shimmer, this one is a little bit disappointing. As you can see, you really have to build it up or put something underneath it to get it to show, but it's such a pretty color. It's called Gold Standards. See, if you're seeing, it's the only one I have to really keep dipping into. Okay, so a little bit messy. You can see these are not nice, like even swatches, but still very, very pretty. So there's both of them together. This is the whole palette. This is kind of what you can expect. My lights are warming things up just a tiny bit. I try to adjust that as much as possible, but see that yellow tone? That's not there. I'm cool tone. As you can see, I have some issues with a few of these shimmers. So far, I really, really like all of the mattes, and I think they do perform really well. These shimmers, however, it's really just this particular one. I don't understand this. I am not going to put this on my eye, I mean, such that it feels like sand. It is gritty. It is not even all that glittery. It's not even, I wouldn't even say it's like cheap craft glitter. I'm missing something on this. I don't understand why we have this in here. This is not something that I think, honestly, this doesn't feel eye safe to me. I'm sure it is because, you know, she wouldn't sell it if it wasn't, but I have personally gotten glitter stuck in my eye before and actually had to go have my eye numbed and have it removed by an eye doctor. That's one of the bad side effects of being a glitter queen and somebody who loves their glitter, but like this just immediately feels like it is going to, just like sand, it's going to fall into your eye. It doesn't seem like it's going to stick all that well, and it's sharp. And you don't really get much glitter for it. I don't understand this. If any of you know, or you've heard another creator talk about this and they know like what's up with this particular one, this is a weird, I'm not putting it on my eye. Let's put it that way. Now, let's just throw that particular one away. The other shimmers, I find these like really soft, flaky ones a little bit hard to use. However, if you build them up and you're careful with them, you know, there's definitely some fallout. They are so beautiful. If you like a little more shimmer than, say, the Makeup by Mario one that I just reviewed, and I was really disappointed in the shimmers because I like more shimmer. I like obnoxious shimmer. But if you want something that's sort of in between those two, these really, I think, do a great everyday shimmer, especially if you build them up. You can do them really, really light, or you can build them up to what I think is like a medium shimmer that is really, really pretty. A little messy to work with, probably will stick better if you were to use, you know, NYX glitter glue or something like that. These metallics are great. These are beautiful. I've come to just expect a good formula like this, a lot of the high-end palettes, and this delivers. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into a few of the looks, and then we'll talk about a couple of alternatives. All right, let's go. Okay, let's start with the very lightest shade, which I always like to do. I always like to test the white to see how white it is, even on my super white skin. So I am also going to test how this light pink is, the IDGAF. It does sort of show, but not a ton because I am so light. I think it would show on darker skin tones. Next, we are doing High Life, and I think this is really gorgeous. It is blending beautifully, no problems. Look at that. I'm pretty happy with how these are going. Let's go a little warmer, a little darker. Let's go into Unapologetic. And I'm not having a lot of fallout. I did not have to tap off the brush. I'm not very good at brush tapping. I'm trying to add that to what I do, and yeah, I think this works pretty well. Any patchiness you're seeing is because I've got old wrinkly eyelids, so I can tell you that as far as working with it, it's just super easy. I'm light-handed, it's fine. I'm going to probably blend this a little bit more. I just don't want to have to make you watch the whole process. Okay, I think this is really good. I used that faux fur in the corner, not the darkest. And this is one of my favorite metallics, Aurora. I like to use this sort of on the outer corner as sort of more of a mid-tone. And I like to get a little bit of shine and interest there, but nothing too blingy. And it does warm it up just a little bit. I think this is really pretty. Again, it's a metallic that holds together really well. It's not a lot of fallout. I don't know, unless I wet a brush, that I would get much use of this with the brush. Okay, let's move into, this is my second favorite, VVS. It's got a lot of fallout. It is very flaky and kind of chunky, but you can kind of squish it in. You need to kind of build it up in order to, you know, get that a little more shiny bling on the lid. As you can see, now I am under very bright lights, so yeah, it's just not showing quite as blingy as it would probably out in natural light, but it's still really pretty. It's just messy. As you can see, I kind of had to mess with it a lot. I'm gonna have to go back and do a lot of blending to sort of fix it. It didn't do a good job of just like sort of patting on top and being done with, so but that's okay. I still really like it. I think it's really, really pretty, and the cleanup was not bad. I could just brush it off. Okay, so let's do the corner with She Rich, the very darkest color, and we'll use this as sort of the base for a liner. You could just do this as a liner, but for me, I like to go a little bit darker than that. So finding this also, it does not have a lot of fallout, which is really a relief, because the darker colors, a lot of times they do flake out and then you're doing a lot of cleanup. And I'm just using one of my thick eyeshadow liners underneath, and this is the final look. I would say this is an everyday look for me. That's one of the reasons I think I like this palette so much, is because I can get an everyday look with this pretty easily. I kind of like almost all of the colors in here except the gritty one. Really easy to blend. You get a very beautiful look in the end. Again, my blending is not going to be perfect because my eyelids are not perfect, but considering that, I think I got a really good look. Okay, now let's turbo through some other looks that you can get through this. Let's just start like lightest to darkest. I really want to use this blue bling that everybody's using. This is one of the simple looks that Huda does herself. You just have a light base with a little bit of gray, and then you do the bling on top of it. So this is kind of what you can expect to see on my skin tone. It's there. It's not super punchy, but it's there. And here is a very simple, just like gray and white look. Yep, these two. So a lot of people like it to be really simple like that, and there's just a little bit of that darker gray in the corner, which is also a purple. It really depends on the lighting. So okay, this one is building on that same look, but I'm using those warmer colors as a pop sort of in the middle, and then I'm using silver there, so it's sort of like a cold and warm look. That's definitely in the corner, the darker purples, a little bit warmer building towards the peachy colors. It's okay. I don't know, I kind of like it. I could have blended better, sorry about that. It's very hard under my lights. Sometimes I can't see what the camera sees because the camera picks up just about everything. I think this looks really good. I mean, you get the idea, it just needs to be blended a little bit more. Now this is that favorite color of mine, and I think if you wanted to go for like a one and done really simple look, I love this metallic shimmer. What is this? Aurora. And I think you could totally get away with just this. A lot of people would love just this. It's a beautiful, beautiful shade. Maybe a little liner here, but you know, Not everybody does liner like I'm doing. I'm trying to do that a little bit less. Now I am going to go a little warmer with this look, and I've got that, but I put some of the peach over it, and I put the very like plummy color in the middle, Unapologetic. And I think that also looks really nice. I'm just taking you through a bunch of different looks that I would personally get out of this and building from light to dark. And let's put this, the warmer shimmer, it's sort of rose gold VVS in the middle. I actually think this one looks really nice. These kind of layer really well together. I think that's a gorgeous look. Like, I would go with that on an everyday basis as well. Okay, so I took both of those looks and I just used the warmer colors. I think I used Gold Standards as the metallic. It doesn't, yeah, there it is. It doesn't have a whole lot of punch, but it just sort of warms everything up. So this is like a warmer purple look. And I think it works really, really well. Again, I'm using those warmer plummy kind of colors, Unapologetic, to stick with the warmer theme. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. This is another perfect everyday look, and I think this is really what you can expect from this palette as far as the kind of looks that you're going to get every day. Okay, so as you can see, just gorgeous. I actually am very happy that I purchased this. Do I think that you could get some of these looks with other palettes? Yeah, especially like this purple look. This is a very classic purple look. Somebody actually just asked me recently, what is your everyday look? This is it. Something like this is totally it. I have lots of ways of getting this, but it takes me multiple palettes to get this. So if you don't have this, you know, basically a really good neutral to a little bit warm to a little bit cool, you know, like a good mix of purples palette that are very pale with a few dark colors, then this might be worth it to you, especially with the Sephora sale coming up. So keep that in mind. That, I mean, this one palette is very expensive, but it could make up for a lot of smaller palettes. Now, if you have pretty much any of the old ColourPop palettes, you probably have a lot of what's in here. What you don't have is some of those flaky shimmers, or, well, they do have a lot of the metallics, actually. I would say that ColourPop, depending on the formula and the palette, they do have some pretty good metallic shades, but they don't really do that flaky shimmer. So that is unique to this palette. I think I might actually travel with this because this has pretty much all the looks that I am gonna want. The only thing I would add in is I would probably bring a dark blue or something like that, or a dark green. But this, for very, very fair skin, especially cool tones and neutral tones, even warm tones are going to be able to wear this because it really rides the line. There are not that many truly cool tones in here. So if you were hoping for that, you might be kind of disappointed. There are enough. I mean, there's a few here. I think these would count as cool tones. Obviously, the silvers are cool. And then the whites are cool. And then, of course, this shimmer is very cool. It's just a straight up blue. I kind of wish it wasn't. This is a little bit hard to wear. This is a very specific look, but it's still like, it definitely goes for that icy cool look that, you know, she says this is. I think that this might be an icier palette on somebody with a warmer tone. For the rest of us who were looking for an icy cold tone, this is probably not really what you were expecting or hoping for. It is still, however, something that you can totally wear every day. I love these kind of purple tones and gray, but like a warm gray. See, like this, I mean, I can't, that looks unnatural. I can't really use that. It almost doesn't even really show up on me, honestly. And it's probably, at least in the monitor, that's almost reading white. And that's kind of how it is on me as well, because I'm already really, really light. If you have a darker skin, you'll actually see this, and you can go for a very baby pink look if you really wanted to. But for the rest of us who are a little bit on the cooler and very fair side, a lot of these are going to be great crease shades. They blend beautifully. Just, I think these are really flattering colors for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to be able to wear this, which a lot of the cool palettes you can't. They're pretty specific. So let's look at some alternatives. I went through my collection and I'm sure there's more. If you know of more, put them down below because other people are going to be reading through the comments looking for suggestions, maybe if they don't want to spend the $70. But here's the two ones that I came up that I do have that are in my collection. Okay, we're going to start with the cheap one first. This is Focallure. And when I say cheap, I think I got this for $10, but last time I looked, it was actually more like $17. I still think it's worth it. I will have to look it up again. I'll put, you know, any kind of links below. But this has a very abbreviated, but I can get the same look that I have today. And this is one of my favorite palettes. I wear this all the time because it does have all of the base colors that I really like. It's got a great white, these, you know, a little bit warmer purple, cooler purple, more burgundy-ish kind of purple for the corner. It's a grayish black. I wouldn't say that's a deep dark black, but what I really love about this palette that the Huda Beauty one doesn't have is these soft sort of cream shadows. This one I've just about panned. It is one of my absolute favorites. It's a lot like Space Cowboy or something like that, but no like glitter or grit to it. It's just like a cream sheen. And all of these are very cool. There's like blue and sort of like teal and brown, and this one's also teal and brown, but like a cooler, even cooler version of it. This one's more burgundy. Very, very beautiful. Really nice little compact sort of thing, and this is great for everyday looks that are very similar to this. So if this is really all you're looking for, I definitely think you should go check this out. I have tried some of their other eyeshadows and not so much. This particular one is great. I really hope that they make more of this formula. And you know, they have one other one that looks like this, but the color story just isn't of interest to me. It's too bright. But I hope they make more of these because this is a really good formula. And this is just one of my favorite little compacts. And it reminds me very much of the Huda Beauty Icy Nude. So this would be a good alternative to look into. And finally, I know some of you are screaming, cold moon, cold moon, cold moon. Yes. So this one for sure. I mean, you can see the colors. This has a fantastic formula. It is very similar as far as the sort of feel, but they have a few more colors and it is definitely a little cooler. And it does have that soft, flaky shimmer. It's actually almost identical, only it is way more metallic, much more punchy, very, very intense shimmer on these. And most of them are duochromes. So if Huda's just not shimmery enough for you and you want that same sort of feel, this one, the mattes on this, for whatever reason, are some of the softest, most creamiest, best, most blendiest mattes I have ever used. I bought this for the shimmers. I did not expect it to be my absolute favorite mattes formula as well. So this one I think is also in the $70 range. If I recall, I think it's $72. And they go out of stock all the time because it's popular, because it's really, really good. And if you're looking for a cool tone palette, this is it. It's a really big palette. I mean, you can get all kinds of different looks with this. And it is, their purples are, this one's a little warmer, but they tend to be a little cooler. That's warmer. But they have these, like this green is one of my absolute favorites. It's this beautiful green that probably won't show up on anybody but the lightest of skin tones. Absolutely worth it. It's really, really gorgeous. Now the grays, if you are really looking for smoky grays, you've definitely got it there. They've got one this is almost, I mean, I think it's really a brown, but if you really wanted to go a little cooler, like really, I wanted icy, this one, for the money, you may prefer this to the Huda Beauty. Okay, now, that said, I am actually very, very happy with this purchase. I was not expecting that, especially after I swatched that horrible gritty glitter shimmer, whatever that is. I am still very confused by that. That does not seem like something you should be putting on your eye at all. But this is just one of the most beautiful and usable color stories, I think, for fair, cool toned skin, neutral, fair skin, really a lot of different skin tones, except for obviously if you have the darkest skin tones, you're probably not going to have any interest in this unless you really wanted to do some like poppy icy looks, and then you could probably get it to work for you. This is really, I think, for, you know, fairer skin tones in general. I mean, that's just my opinion, but for us, when I saw this on Instagram and it had released, I was like, when can I get it? As expected, when it actually showed up, because I had to order it, it was warmer than it appeared online. So I did want to share that with you, is that it is warmer than it appears online, but not in a bad way. It's not, I still wouldn't call it warm exactly. I'd say it's more neutral for those of us who look like this. Okay, I think I have said enough. I am so glad that after I just spent all that money that I actually like this palette. So if you had your questions, if you were waiting to see what it looked like on our skin tones, and if you wanted to see if I was going to rip up the formula like I did with the Pretty Grunge formula, which I thought was terrible, no, I think this one's worth it. I think this is a really beautiful palette. If you are just feeling drawn to it and you were worried about the formula, I think the formula is really good, actually. I didn't have a ton of fallout. It didn't get muddy on me. It blended really well. These were all the problems I had with Pretty Grunge, where it's just like, why am I paying all this money for this formula that just falls off my face? The color clarity just wasn't there. I kept trying to build it up and it was just grungy looking on me. Well, I don't need to spend $70-something to get that. So this is beautiful. All right. If you have any questions, leave them below. Also, if you have any comments or any other recommendations for people that you want to share or your experience, please leave that below as well. If you like this kind of content, I sure would appreciate if you would give me a like and subscribe, as it really helps my channel to grow, and I love having you guys here. Okay, I hope you are having a great day. I hope you had a safe and fun Halloween, and I will see you in the next video.